There's a couple of things that I think we can optimize. One, you do that over a 5 to 10 minute phone call. It's super simple, but it will increase your show rate and it will increase your close rate. But the price that you're charging, they don't believe matches the value you're providing. So what I like to do is you want that part of the call to be so powerful that all you have to say at the end of it is, "Hello, my name is Aaron Brewer. Welcome to the Agency Sales Show. This is where I help agency owners live on how to double their revenue, scale their business, and improve their conversion rates. I am here with my good friend, Ben. Ben is working in sales in an e-commerce agency. So Ben, you want to take a moment just to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Ben, obviously, like you just said. I am the business development rep at Iffert Media. We're a TikTok marketing agency, and we specialize in helping e-commerce brands do live streaming, making short videos, finding affiliates, and helping them run ads.
Let's go, man. Love it. Well, what we're going to do here today, just to give you a quick rundown, is Ben and I are going to chat back and forth. Any questions that Ben has on sales, we'll work through it. And my goal is to help you walk away from here having very practical steps that you can take to then go and make more money. So, Ben, give me a quick rundown on how sales have been going for you. I know from the application you submitted to come onto this show, like your numbers are pretty solid for the type of outreach that you're doing. You mentioned like it was kind of a lukewarm type of lead.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so the way I normally do leads, there is this thing TikTok has called Partner Center. And basically what that allows is any brands or any shops that are on TikTok that are selling any kind of merch or products, they can essentially reach out to affiliates, which I can also talk about in a second, or they can also reach out to agencies like us. And basically it's their way of like flagging for help. And in different ways, different brands need different services a lot of the time. But it's their way of being like, I don't know what I'm doing. Please help us.
Sure. So there is like some level of intent when the lead comes in.
They know they need help and they're kind of reaching out for someone, but they don't know that I'm going to reach out to them.
Okay.
Basically.
Got it. So there is some level of intent. You know that they
Yes.
need help, but they're not necessarily expecting to reach out. But
Yes.
from the numbers that you shared with me, you're rocking a 30% call to close rate and an 80% show rate on those leads. Like that is pretty impressive. So you tell me, what's the biggest thing that you want to unlock to kind of reach the next level in your sales?
I would say normally it was confidence. I've been doing good with that the last few weeks, I think. I think the biggest thing for me at this point is just getting a better close rate across the board, because it's one thing to get people into the meeting. I'm doing a decent job of getting people into the meeting. And even I'm doing a great job of explaining what we do and how we can help them. But a lot of times I have a problem of having them say yes on the call, because some people will like email me back and be like, yeah, let's work together. But then some people are like, oh yeah, I'll think about it. And then like they disappear and I never hear back from them.
Got it. So the classic, you get hit with a smoke screen, then they ghost. You
Exactly,
never hear from
yeah.
them. Okay. So let's find out what is causing that, because 30% can most certainly be better. So tell me a little bit about when you're on the sales call, where do you start to notice the resistance? Where do you start to notice those objections pop up?
Probably, I don't know if I should mention this, but in my slide deck, when I normally present and I go through it, I think the part where I start to lose some people is maybe where I show some of the brands that we've worked with.
Okay.
Because to be honest, like some of them are like well-known brands, and then some of them are just like have a lot of sales on TikTok, but they're not necessarily the most well-known brands out there. I think sometimes if I'm talking to people who are smaller than those, they can be intimidated, or they think, oh, this is out of my price range, because they work with those big brands. And they haven't even seen the prices yet.
Interesting.
I think. I mean, I can't say that completely across the board, but I have seen some people, for example, like in my slide deck, I tell them about our services beforehand. And I even address some problems we've seen with sellers and like kind of how we can come in and help those solutions. But sometimes if they see those big agencies, I think that can kind of be misleading. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah. So like, because you're working with like larger companies, you've helped larger companies, then they just kind of assume that you're going to be out of their price range. Is that right?
Yes. And later in the slide deck where I talk about our prices, a lot of them were like, sometimes they're like, oh, that's a little pricey, or oh, I don't know if I can do that right now.
Okay. No, this is making sense. So Tell me a little bit about your sales process. So what are you currently doing? Like from the time you hop on because you do a phone call.
Yeah.
And then from the phone call, you set them up for a Zoom. And then on the Zoom, you go through the whole slide deck, right?
So normally when I reach out to them in Partner Center, normally they put their email or they put their phone number or WhatsApp. Personally, I normally just text them or I email them. Sometimes I do both if they put both. But when I reach out to them and they reach out back to me, I send them my calendar so they can schedule a meeting. And then normally we just hop on a call at whatever time.
Okay, so the first time you guys speak is when you're on Zoom.
Yes, that is the first time.
Okay, got it. So there's a couple of things that I would already start to notice in this process that I think we can optimize.
Okay.
One, I would have a phone call with them. So when you do the initial reach out and you're reaching out via text and email, I would also add on a phone call. And if you can call that lead within 90 seconds of them opting in, like that's the best case scenario. 5 minutes is what I'd say is like, there's a dramatic drop off of contact as well as the lead becoming qualified if you call them past 5 minutes. Literally from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, there is a 900% drop off in qualified contact rate, right? So what you're going to want to do is whenever that new lead comes in, you'll have automations, notifications set up, and then you call them immediately rather than just sending them a text. And what you want to do on that call is you want to ask them just a couple quick questions of what made them want to reach out, get really clear intent for them, as well as qualify the lead, make sure that they have a budget to afford your service, they have a sense of urgency, and they have a need that lines up with what you do. So the types of qualifications that I put a lead through, I call it fun, which is that they need to be financially qualified. They need to have a sense of urgency to solve the problem now, and they need to have a need that aligns with what you do, right? And you do that over a 5 to 10 minute phone call. It's super simple, but it will increase your show rate and it will increase your close rate because now when you guys hop on Zoom, they already have a sense of familiarity with you because they've already spoken with you. Like they feel like, oh, like an old friend. So in the same way that like this isn't the first time that you and I have spoken, like when you filled out the application, I called you, right? And then we texted back and forth before you came here into the studio, and that creates a sense of familiarity. So this isn't the first time that you and I have ever met face to face or actually spoken to each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that would be the first thing that we do. Very simple, just calling the leads beforehand. That does increase your close rate. Second thing, I want to get a little bit more clarity on what your sales process looks like. You mentioned you have a slide deck. Do you do a discovery before you start pitching your services?
When you say discovery, do you mean like looking into them beforehand, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so like when you hop into the sales call, what do you do? Like from beginning to end?
So normally when I get them in the call, normally it's the awkward Zoom, hey, can you hear me? That stuff. And then like normally I just talk with them just briefly. On my personal thing that I like to do, just because I like talking to people and I like getting to know people, even if it's not the most salesy thing. I honestly like getting to know people. And if I already look into their shop and what they sell ahead of time, I try to like see if I have some personal connection with them. So I'll give you a quick example. There was a brand that I reached out to recently that they sold like mugs and bowls that had like a basketball backboard on the back of it. So if you like made some hot cocoa, you could like shoot some marshmallows into it. And I was like, oh, I played. Yeah, I know, right? That's like so cool and fun. And I was like, I played basketball. And I reached out to them. I was like, hey, I think your product is super cool. And I'm like, I think there's definitely a market for on TikTok. And like, so in the email, I'm already kind of personalizing it. So
by the way, huge brownie points. That's really awesome.
Because, you know, I mean, I don't know how many emails they get from other companies, but like, even if just that quick sentence can help me stand out, even like 10%, you know, that's like,
that's massive.
Yeah.
It does a lot for your trust. It does a lot for your rapport. So like you're doing fantastic there. Just a heads up, if any of you guys are agency owners and you're doing email, listen to what this guy said because he's spot on with this. Okay, so but when you actually get on the sales call,
yes,
what process are you walking them through? Like, when do you start pitching? Is it within the first 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, again, after we normally say just like, hi, hello, how are you doing? Get to know them a little bit. Normally, I say something, normally I share my screen and I tell them a little bit about us, and then I just ask for their background and how long they've been on TikTok and stuff like that.
Okay, got it. So the next thing that I would do for you, for you to get less that's too expensive, whatever it is. Whenever you're getting that's too expensive or that's out of my price range, it's not so much that they financially can't afford it. That might be part of it, but you can prevent that again by just having a quick 5-minute triage call before you hop on to make sure that they actually have money. But really, most of the time, it's that they don't believe that the cost of their problem is higher than the cost of your solution. So if they don't feel like they're so how much do you charge again?
So for live streaming, which is our main thing, we charge $100 an hour and then 10% commission on any sales made during the live.
Okay, got it. So that $100 an hour plus whatever the 10% commissions are that, let's say hypothetically, that they feel like they could do on their own, right? They don't believe that they are missing out on at least $100 an hour or that extra 10% on sales if they did it on their own. So then paying you to do it would be a higher cost than them just doing it on their own. Hence why they say it's too expensive. So it's not that they can't afford $100. Everyone can afford $100. It's that they don't believe that there is enough value to justify that price of $100 and plus 10% commissions, right? So what would say, like on an average basis, how much would someone for a 1 hour, I don't know how long a live stream would be, what, 2 hours, 3 hours?
Yeah, normally we do a minimum of 2 hours.
Okay, cool. So let's say a 2 hour live stream plus 10% commission. How much on average would someone pay you for that if you take into consideration all the sales they would make? Obviously, it depends.
Yeah.
Rough average.
Well, for the 2 hours, it would be $200 and then 10% commission. If they're completely new, they may not see any sales in the first live just because there's like a ramp up period. So they may not get any sales, to be quite honest.
Okay. Really good information. Do they know that before they sign up with you?
Normally, I let them know ahead of time. I tell them there's a ramp up period, and I just tell them across the board with all the brands we've worked with, big and small, if you're new on TikTok, it can sometimes take 2 or 3 months to really ramp up.
Oh, this is really good information. Okay, so if they know this, then how much do they think on the sales call while they're with you? How much do they think they're going to have to spend before they start making a good profit?
I would say before they start breaking even, it's hard because it's different with every business, but like across the board, I would say before you start breaking even, probably around $6,000 or $7,000.
Okay, this is phenomenal information. So the price is not $100 an hour in their mind. The price is $7,000, right? Before they start seeing their money come back. Most of the time, obviously it depends. So what they are believing here is that I need to spend $7,000 to work with this guy. What else could I use that $7,000 to? Could I make a higher profit if I just did it myself? And so again, the price that you're charging, they don't believe matches the value you're providing. So what I like to do is it's actually, you can improve your pitch. There's a lot of things that we can do to improve your pitch. And if we have time, I'd love to go into that today. But on the other end, I, at the beginning of the call, will ask them questions about what their problem is, right? That's making them want to reach out in the first place, what troubles they have had in scaling up their products on TikTok Shop. The second thing I would do is I would identify what are all of the things that they've tried to scale up their product on TikTok Shop and why those things have not worked. I would also ask them why they haven't just tried to do it on their own. If they have tried to do it on their own, why did it not work out? Obviously, you're talking with me right now, so like it's not working for you, right? Or if they haven't tried to do it on their own, why not? There's an inherent sense of doubt that they have that's prevented them from doing it on their own up to this point. I would then ask them what they would want to hit, right? So like how much revenue they would want to do, how many sales they would want to get, what that would allow them to do in their business, what kind of impact that would have. And then I would identify if this is something that they want to solve now, and if so, why. And while I'm going through this process, which I call Hell Bridges Heaven Fuel, which is the framework that I have for the discovery portion of the call, it should take you about 15 to 20 minutes to go through all of those types of questions. You want them basically telling you why they want to sign up, right? It's like them selling themselves. And during that process, I will also ask them where they believe they should be by now. I use that word should very intentionally because there's a lot of like moral weight to should, right? When people think about, oh, I should be here by now, there's this sense of like disappointment that they're not there, a sense of lack that they're not there right now. And it creates this internal like drive of like, I should be here, but I'm not. And so I specifically ask, where do you feel like you should be by now in your business? And it also like allows them to kind of use their ego because most people have a really big ego, so they think that they should be a lot further than they already are. And so then I'd be like, okay, well, if you feel like you should be at $30,000 a month in revenue in your current business that you have, but you're only at $5,000 a month, that's $25,000 a month. And what do you feel like is the number one bottleneck that if that one thing were solved, you would be able to get it? And they're like, I just don't know how to get more eyeballs on my product. I was like, well, okay, that's the exact thing that we do. So now we have a clear financial cost of not working with you. It's $25,000 a month. That's how much they have been spending every month that they don't work with you is $25,000. So now when you get around to the end of the call and you're talking about your prices, they have one of two options. They can either continue losing $25,000 a month or spend $7,000 to finally get out of that and get to $30K. I then ask, which bill would you rather pay? Because you're going to have to pay one of them, right? And then obviously they're like, well, obviously I'd rather do the 7,000. I was like, got it. Well, then in that case, what do we need to do right now to make sure that happens? And then they buy, right? So you want to, at the beginning of your call, before you start pitching them anything, I honestly don't think the problem is you talking about the brands. It's that they have no clear picture of how much the problem is costing them. And so then when you start talking about these big brands, it's like, oh, I might have to spend over 1K with this guy, right? And they think this is a big deal, right? But you just help them see how much money they've been losing by asking them those questions at the beginning of the call. So then everything you say in your pitch is tied to how do we save you 25 grand a month, right? Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
Cool. What are your thoughts on that so far? And give me a chance to drink some water. How
Yeah.
could you implement that into your calls?
As far as just bringing that up into the call, I mean, again, normally at the beginning of the call after like I introduce myself and just ask them basically how it's going, I give them a brief rundown about us and then I ask them about how they've been doing on TikTok already. So maybe just honestly diving more in depth with them, asking better questions to see where they're at. Because some people can be very closed off because they're like, there are numbers, but some people are just like, they'll just lay it out there because they know they need help.
Yep, 100%. What would you say based on the conversation we've had so far? I want to see what has stuck and what hasn't. What are some of the questions that you feel like would really change the dynamic of your call? Some questions that you could ask.
I guess we're in quarter four, so it'd be like, how much revenue are you expecting to make this quarter?
Okay. Yeah, 100%. And then I would even shift it around, even instead of just how much are you expecting to make, it's how much do you want to make? Like how much is like, if this quarter went perfect, like we're in Q4 right now, right? The time that we're filming this video. It's like, this is supposed to be your biggest quarter of the year. I might even ask how their last Q4 went, right? I was like, did that meet your expectations? Notice how I'm not saying like, were you happy with it? Were you content with it? It's like, did it meet your expectations? Because again, if they're on a call with you, probably there's a gap between where they feel like they should be and where they actually are. And you want to like identify what that gap is. So it's like, what are your expectations or how much do you want to be doing this quarter, right? What would be your best goal for this quarter? And then based on your current setup, do you feel like you have everything you need to be able to hit that number? And because they're on the call with you, 99.9% of the time, they're going to say no. If they say yes, then you just ask, why are we on the call? Right? But every other time, they're going to say, no, I don't believe everything that I currently have set up is going to get me to that number. So now what they're doing is they're saying, I need help, right? Then you can circle it back around to, okay, how much money have you been losing up to this point by not having this problem solved? And then use that number throughout the rest of your call. Side note, we talk about your pitch. Your pitch is like, it's solid. It could be a very powerful way to convert clients, but that's not going to be where the sale is made. The sale is going to be made in the questions that you're asking them. Because they're saying like, I need help. I really want to hit this number. None of the other options work. This is exactly what I need in a company to feel like they're going to be able to get me to my goal. I need to move forward right now. If a company can do X, Y, Z, I must sign up with them. Anything less than $25,000 a month would be a bargain. Like, you can see how like asking those questions and getting them to say those things, that's where the real sale is made. You want your discovery, which is that place where you ask all those questions, you want to be that part of the call to be so powerful that all you have to say at the end of it is, cool, we can help you with that. It's $7,000. And they would buy. Like, that's the amount of weight I need us to shift towards that discovery section of the call rather than the pitch. But in your pitch, you can then tie back every part of your service to the things they said in the discovery, which then make your pitch 10 times better. So instead of saying, yeah, we worked with all of these big brands, you can say, name one big brand.
Magic Spoon.
Right, Magic Spoon. Love Magic Spoon, by the way. Their protein cereals, phenomenal.
Yeah, they're really good.
A little obnoxiously expensive, but really good. And so I'll be like, cool. So like, Magic Spoon. They'll be like, yeah, Magic Spoon's major. It's like, yeah, you'd be shocked. Even a brand as big as that, they had the exact same problem that you brought up, right? Like, this is this major business, and yet they didn't know how to get more eyeballs on their product. And so we came in, we helped them with XYZ, same thing that we'd be doing with you. And that allowed them to see this much revenue increase in their business, which then allowed them to do ABC, right? Literally the same thing for you. So now it's not just, man, we've worked with Magic Spoon. We're so great as a company. You should buy from us. It's, yeah, Magic Spoon, this big grand company that you've looked up to this whole time. We helped them through the exact same problem that we're going to help you with. Now it's a lot more personal, right? So now it's going to tie closer to what they said. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
So that would be the other way that I would adjust that part. Then when you get around to the price, it's super simple. It's like, hey, this is, you said you were losing this much money per month. Do you feel like this is what you need to do? Do you feel like this is going to help you save that money? Do you feel like this is going to help you hit your goals? Why? Why not? Cool. Do you want to move forward? Great. Here's what it takes to move forward. Then you talk about the price.
Gotcha. Kind of on the same wavelength as that. I've kind of been using a slightly different approach, and in the sense of more so instead of them losing money, it's more so them leaving money on the table. Do you think that's a good strategy, or do you think that yours is a better strategy than mine?
I think they're both great. I'd much rather someone talk about leaving money on the table than not bring it up at all. It's going to depend on who you're talking to. If you're talking to a very ambitious person, leave money on the table is your best route, because they don't want to think that they're leaving opportunity unclaimed. But if you're talking with someone that's a little bit more unsophisticated, maybe they're newer to TikTok, they just started their product, they're not going to care as much about money being left on the table. They're going to care more about expensive bills that they're paying, right? So it's going to be dependent on who you're talking to. So again, if you're talking to a more ambitious person, leave money on the table is a great path. If you're talking to an unsophisticated person that is a little bit more price sensitive, talk about the money they've been losing, right? The cost of staying where they're at. It's the cost of an action. That's all it is, right? Your basic sales 101 cost of an action. It's an actual financial cost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Beauty. What are the questions, comments, concerns, death threats?
So I have a little bit of experience, and obviously over the past few months I've gotten better at this. But I want to know, what's your approach to reading someone's personality, kind of getting like a feel for them as a person?
Oh, this is super easy. So are you familiar with the DISC personality test?
I'm not, no.
Okay, so it's a super simple personality test. Obviously, you can't box someone in, especially within only a couple of minutes of meeting them. But you can see patterns across many people. So I use DISC. There's many personality tests out there, but there are usually 4 types of people. You have D type, I type, S type, and C type. Ds are very direct. They're very driven individuals. It's like, let's hit our goals. It's let's cut to the chase, right? These are your typical A type personalities. You'll notice in a conversation with them that they're just a lot more blunt to the point, and they don't want to go talking about fluffy stuff. So then what I will do is I will be more direct in what I say. I won't talk more about fluffy stuff. And that's what they respect. I types are very expressive, enthusiastic. These people care about having impact. They care about, having an influence in the world and doing good things, right? They're a lot more emotionally expressive. So then I will be more emotionally expressive. So I'll show my hands on Zoom a little bit more. I'll smile more. I'll crack more jokes. I'll, change the way that I speak, and I'll be more like dynamic in how I talk. I'm naturally more of an I type myself, right? So then S types, they care a lot about steadiness. They care about stability and safety, all the S's. And so with them, you'll notice that they talk about consistency. They talk about safety. They talk about keeping things where they need to be, right? They're a little bit slower when they talk. They're a little bit softer, right? So I'm not going to be loud and expressive. I'm going to be softer, right? When I speak, I'm going to be a little bit more even keel. And I will, in my pitch, I'll talk about how this product, this service gives them safety, gives them security in their business. They won't know why it resonates so much with them, but it will. And then finally, C types, these are the conscientious types. They're very skeptical, very analytical. They want to see all of the numbers. These are the people who ask you 100 questions at the end of the call, right? And so with those people, as I speak, I will be a little bit more punctual. I'll look like I've got my junk together, right? I'll use statistics throughout my entire call. All they want to see is that you know your stuff, right? If they can see that you know your stuff, then they feel safe to move forward with you. So I'll typically type them within the first couple of minutes, kind of throw them in one of those boxes, and then just adapt the way I speak to them.
I actually have a question for you, jumping off of that. So within the past few weeks, all TikTok Shop partners and agencies, we have been told officially that now we legally cannot send out any case studies or any of our analytics. So whether we're doing
Interesting.
Yeah, now that we're doing a slide deck or not, we can't show those numbers, which obviously when you're trying to sell your business and like trying to show your success stories and people ask, "Can I see your numbers?" And I'll be like, "That's so great. Legally, we cannot do that, or TikTok will send us a cease and desist." And some people, as you can imagine, are like, "Oh, that's." Some people have like told me, "Oh, that's kind of sketchy," and my response.
I mean, I think it's sketchy.
I mean,
too,
no,
you know?
like I mean, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to be like, yeah, no, I totally get that, but like,
You can't even use like average conversions.
no, like I can share. The only thing I really can share is again the brands I work with, and what I try to do is I try to use testimonials or stories and like how we've helped them grow, and like I tell them where they can see how much. On TikTok Shop, you can see how much numbers a brand has made. That's public info. Okay. But again, there's only so much that I can actually tell them.
Yeah.
And so I guess my question for you is, in the case of that last personality type, if I'm unable to share much analytics, is the best way to go about it just to give them kind of a, for lack of a better word, like a testimonial about how we've helped them grow?
Yeah. Obviously that's so weird.
I know. Yeah, no, it's made sales a lot more tricky.
Sure. Yeah. So, one, I would lean into the numbers you do have. So if you can talk about how much they made, talk about that. You don't have to go into like the conversions, things like that. You can talk about averages on TikTok Shop and be like, influencers that don't work with an agency typically convert this much. Influencers that do work with an agency typically convert this much, without making it about you. I mean, lean into the numbers that you do have access to. And then the second thing is I would just change how I speak with them. So I would, again, be a little bit more like punctual. I'd have my I's dotted, my T's crossed. I'd look like I have my stuff together. And so like if they ask about it, like the way I would answer it would change. So I might even say the same words, but my tonality would be a little bit different. It'd be like, so the way that TikTok works is they just released a new policy where any influencer, any agency that you speak to, they're not allowed to share any data from private influencers. And that's for your sake, for your own privacy. So I'm not even legally allowed to talk about those numbers. What I can say is XYZ. So again, like handling it very smoothly, firmly, right? Downward tonality. You've got everything lined up, like ready to rock and roll. And because you handle it with such confidence, like that's the thing that they're looking for. They're not looking for the number. They're looking for your sense of certainty. So if you can communicate with the sense of certainty, like everything's going to flow through smoothly anyway. Doesn't make the TikTok policy any less weird. So
yeah, no, trust me. The first few months I was like, oh yeah, all these numbers, great, I memorized them. And then literally I was in a seminar and they were like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. And there
Oh,
was
man.
like, I would not say there was panic, but there was like mass confusion of being like,
Everyone just starts shifting in their
yeah,
seats.
being like, what is going
Yeah.
on?
Cool. Well, that is it for today's episode of the Agency Sales Show. Huge thank you to Ben for coming out onto the show and chatting. Today, we talked about how to communicate with more certainty on the calls, asking questions, cost of inaction, all of that jazz. If you want to learn more about this stuff, I run a free school community. Technically, it's $1 to join that keeps all the scammers out. So if $1 is an issue, so sorry. But I'll put that link in the description and in the pinned comments. Go ahead, join that community. That way you can get access to weekly coaching calls where we talk about this exact sort of thing. And if this was helpful and you want to see more videos like this, also click that little subscribe button. Otherwise, I will see you on the next one. And thank you again, Ben. Let's rock and roll.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye.